Just close enough.
Yeah.
So this is the story of how we all met, right?
Yeah. This is the one.
Yeah. So Grayson and I, we had technically Grayson had a CrossFit gym in Denver. We met at the first CrossFit gym, and then we helped open the second CrossFit gym together.
What year was that?
It was 2010.
12. Well, we met in 10. You opened the first one in 2010, and
Yep.
then 2011 is
York
when
Street.
we opened York Street, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and so I got into CrossFit via nutrition, actually, like following Rob Wolf, and then that's how I got out to Chico, to Rob Wolf's gym.
Yeah.
Because we were having some issues with our owners in Denver. Not the easiest thing, by the way, to go into business with somebody.
Yeah. Know who you're going to business with.
Yeah. So, we've always kind of been of that mindset that we wanted to do things a little bit better, like be on the slightly less injurious, wild side of CrossFit and more on the kind of planned, intentional side. And so when things didn't work out, Rob was really doing that with his gym. Rob and Sean were really doing that with NorCal Strength and Conditioning. So Rob offered us jobs, and that was in July of 2013.
I heard a different version of that story, actually.
Ooh, what did you hear?
I heard the story from Sean Gower that Rob offered Sarah the job, and then on the interview process, Grayson was there too.
No, this is what happened.
It was a package
really,
deal.
Really what happened is Rob offered the both of us the job. Sean said I need a new coach.
Oh,
and Rob said, you guys want a job? And then it was basically like, oh, by the way, Sean, I told them that they could both have jobs. And Sean was like, oh.
Yeah. Sean
It's like I'm interviewing two people.
Who's this guy?
Well, he also said that he thought you looked scary because Grayson's like, was classic CrossFitter guy and mostly shirtless and throwing barbells around and
bearded and braided.
He was just worried, like concerned, but I think it was Rob or somebody was like, no, man, he's like the kind of guy that like butterflies land on and stuff. And Sean was like, okay. But
I think that's what you said.
No, that's not what I said. I had no idea any of this was going on. And then Sean said after he interviewed you and us, he was like, oh, totally. So
we sold him on that first interview.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a wee bit of a struggle. He did his best to support the both of us when we got there, but it was, we had to fight for the.
It was tight.
The hour.
It was tight for that full year. It was tight.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
You guys moved out there in 2013, because that's when I started. I had just It was 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had just finished my internship, and done my first year of coaching.
Yep.
And then, I remember when you guys first visited, we were doing like a random Olympic weightlifting. It was like a Saturday class, and there was some Olympic weightlifting or something like that. I remember the look on both of your faces when you saw some of the Olympic weightlifting. You were both just like, ugh.
We can help.
Being like,
we just finished Greg Everett seminar, so we're experts,
That's right. We were ordained.
Yeah.
Know how to spot an early elbow bend.
Know how to spot an early elbow bend. That's great.
Yeah, it's just a long process of learning different shit. I got into CrossFit via, I was more yoga Pilates type person, and I kept messing up my back. So I was a dancer for 13 years, and then that kind of set me up with some developing problems that had kind of been brewing for a while. So I was doing a ton of yoga, and I was a Pilates instructor, and I kept jacking up my low back and going to the chiropractor. My chiropractor kept telling me, you need to just build some muscle mass. And I kept thinking he was full of shit because I had muscle mass, but lo and behold, strength training did help a bunch. And so then the nutrition thing via Rob, doing my own stuff, and then kind of deciding, well, maybe I'll try this CrossFit thing, despite all of the negative things he had to say at that time about CrossFit.
Yeah, all the hype.
And then met Grayson was real cute.
We hit it off. CrossFit dreams.
Yep.
Married.
That's right, married.
But then just kind of, chasing that, want to do the business better, because clearly, the way that our business turned out, the business itself seemed to be successful. We had a bunch of clients, but we didn't really know what we were doing as far as running a business goes.
That was the only thing that we had figured out, was how to get people in the door.
Totally.
But beyond that,
and we kept them. We had really good retention.
Yeah.
Everybody was really happy. But running the
time for
actual
CrossFit
business
gym,
and taking
really.
care of ourselves, we were
totally.
horrible at it. We just didn't know. We didn't know what we didn't know, and we knew that these guys had been in business for 10 years, and at the time, so we thought either this is going to work out great, or at least we'll learn a lot from Sean, which we did. Sean was the best boss we ever had. He just was wonderful.
Yeah.
And the kind of the mentality there was definitely always trying to do things better. Like we were always trying to make people's bodies work better and feel better, which is generally why you get into fitness. But then I feel like that never really clicked into play for us until we found the FRC stuff.
Totally.
Yeah, because it like you can still do all the fitness stuff, but it needs that supportive foundational element that Kinstretch provides. Otherwise, you start getting hurt and you just have problems that you're constantly working through.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can only scale and progress so far until there's like
Right.
throw a
And then there
tablecloth
was
over 'em.
also the missing component where like we were trying to basically work through these progressions at NorCal that would try to safeguard and make sure like somebody had these movement prerequisites, but they were still based on exercise standards, like achieving a squat position. And like if you can't achieve a squat position, then do this with their exercise, but the path of building them that position was kind of really lacking.
Yeah.
But then also the diagnostic understanding of that position was lacking.
Yeah, it was, if you don't have a good squat, well, we're just going to find some other variations of a different type of squat that looks less like shit, and then
Yeah.
We'll develop that as far as we
hopefully
can.
that gets better.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, we were definitely on the right track as far as trying to break it down and have a different approach as opposed to just come in the gym and work out and that's going to fix everything.
Definitely.
But it still had lots of holes.
Then you guys found Kinstretch. What did you? It was like a via
Nate
internet,
Nate
right?
found it on the internet, on Instagram.
The internet.
The young people and their
Yeah,
internets.
look at that. Still at it on the internets.
Yeah.
Here we are. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was just
who
a
was it? Who was the first person you saw?
good old Dewey Nielsen.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was doing, we talked about last time, he was doing some crazy FRC isometric movement path from like a Cossack to a combat base, which is FRC talk for this really difficult.
Good hip mobility.
Yeah, good hip mobility, good hip and ankle mobility. And I was like, what is this? And then we started trying it and we're like, oh, this seems pretty cool. We read a little bit more and kind of did the deep dive. And I think we've just continued to deep dive into FRCs ever since then, really. But it wasn't until May 2015, right?
I was a harder sell on it initially. I remember you guys were playing with it. And I was
You're
like,
just generally a harder sell on things.
Yeah, she's
I am.
hard
Know it
selling
all.
everything. That's right.
Which is
Prove it-
good.
Prove it to me.
It's in the
It's
genes
good.
though, so you can't help
It
it.
is in the genes. I passed it on to my daughter.
That's
It's,
right.
Evident immediately whether or not you have the gene.
It is.
That's
She
good
has
though.
it.
It ultimately protects us from getting into things that we shouldn't be getting into, right?
That's right.
So
Impervious to bullshit.
All right, impervious to bullshit. So we got FRC we got certified with their mobility specialist certification in 2015. Sarah, when did you go?
Was that
2000s?
2015? I always ask the wife because she has these dates better.
Yeah,
but
it was-
Pearl
it
was
was-
almost a year old, right?
No. That was when we did Kinstretch. She did Kinstretch when she was a year old.
Oh, it's been a long time.
So it has been.
Yeah, I don't know exactly when. It's been like 5 years.
Yeah, because I feel like you
Pearl
you
was
were
born
just
when we
starting
went
to
out there.
do like cars and stuff like that around when. Actually, I can't remember exactly when that would have been.
I think
It was your Kinstretch though that you did when she was a year old, right?
no, because that was in Portland. That was right before we left NorCal. I believe
Okay, so then it was when
Pearl
she
was
a
not
year
quite
old. So
walking
then it
yet.
was
16?
right around the spring of 2016.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so 4
So-
years.
Yeah, so
ish.
spring, 4 years-ish.
I wish
4
I
and a
had
half.
that info in that pregnancy.
I know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we can talk about that too.
Yeah.
That's
But it took forever to get like you go to the seminar, you get all this
Oh,
like
man.
mind explosion. These guys tried to bring back the mind explosion. I was trying to understand why it was so important to do this every damn day, and I was not quite sure they were right.
Well, yeah, mind explosion is a subtle way of putting it, though. I mean,
Yeah.
we got out there and we take this 2-day certification and then realize that everything that we were doing was potentially hazardous and wrong, and that was just like, I mean, it was,
Spontaneously combust at any moment.
yeah, it was like, well, I guess we just have to stop training now. How the
Yeah.
hell do we implement this and make it work? So we had, what are the first stages of realizing you have a problem? Like denial's the first one. We're like,
Denial.
we're totally fine. What we've
Yeah.
been doing is okay. We'll just
Yeah.
try to slowly implement this. And then it was like, we do have a problem. We can't do this stuff anymore. Now we have to start over.
And if you really like get what they're saying, you can't. It's not like you just keep doing all the shit that you're doing and then do a little bit of FRC on the side. Like you need to actually alter your training because it basically is saying like you are training on a joint that is not really usable
Yeah.
for what you're doing with it. So go ahead.
The
keep doing
adaptation
that,
you're
but it
trying to
might fall
imply.
apart.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
adaptation you're trying to apply isn't not being received, does not compute.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
I was mostly impressed with not that I'm not impressed with you, Nate, but like you have you always like to experiment, you know, like when at least in the beginning, you were very like playing with this, playing with that, like trying all these new things and good at like bringing these new things in and really adept and talented at like doing them. But you always had this very like, gotta maintain all these things, like, you know, like breaks.
He's unbelievable.
I mean, he has like
crazy.
an obsession with like, if I lose anything that I've gained, like
I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah, it's hard because then every time you learn a new thing, you have to like make sure that you maintain that thing.
Yeah.
So for you to like really back off and be like, I shouldn't be doing front rack, I shouldn't be doing front squats.
Yeah.
I stopped squatting. I stopped doing all barbell squats of all varieties.
Yeah. Well, at that point too, wasn't it pretty spasmy?
Well, yeah, I did have a bad back. The doctor said I needed a bacchiotomy.
The old bacchiotomy.
Oh, that was also because you were having some asshole yank on your leg every time you went to see him. So.
Well, there was a little bit of that, but either way, my back was fragile.
But I think also though, wasn't it kind of coming on the heels of overtraining, trying to follow some CrossFit programming?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, doing a little Invictus 2-a-day games competitor programming that beat me down pretty good.
Yeah. Never been stronger.
That's
I've
true.
I've never really truly seen overtraining in somebody like that.
Yeah, you saw it firsthand.
Like I've seen people where I'm like, oh, you might be doing too much. That was where I'm like, oh, you're actually not sleeping and like putting on body fat despite like a heavy training load and same food program.
Going down.
Yeah.
And you're like indestructible as far as body weight goes, so that was pretty impressive. Or not impressive, but like, holy shit, this is really fucking him up.
Yeah, that was bad.
And
was a
like
good
you're a
turning
high
point.
level CrossFitter. It wasn't like you were just, you know.
Right. I was not a casual CrossFitter.
Yeah. So it was good in some ways that you were at least kind of over that, like finally.
That was
over
the final
CrossFit.
straw. I think that really made me not want to do it anymore.
Yep.
I feel good knowing that if you can make that change from what you were doing into FRC, that pretty much anyone can make that change.
Absolutely. I
It
mean,
just takes a little convincing.
Yeah. Except for Grayson does have that one thing where like if something is really truly, if he believes it's good for him, he'll that'll trump
I've seen him eat liver
the other
before.
stuff.
every week.
Yeah, every week.
I eat canned salmon, for God's sake. It's disgusting. But it's got bones and skin in it, so I know it's good.